I'm working on it. I'm sorry that we couldn't get this together technically last time, and we still do not have a tripod, and YouTube still makes me hold it in portrait style because I don't have the appropriate tripod. So we're just gonna have to deal with me having to hold the phone and go through some of the things that I want to talk to you about today. Let me make sure that I can see your chat. Okay, there we go. Make sure I can see you. Here's what's going on. For those of you who don't know me, I am a clear conduit channel and a trance channel. What happened over the course of this past week, we had a voting in my exclusive community on patreon.com. And that, if you want to join it, or get a take on what it's like, it is in the description of this video. And for the first time, people asked me if I would channel a celebrity, and I sat with it, and for some reason, not really knowing why, I said yes. And that surprised me because I haven't channeled a celebrity before. I am a channel of ascended beings, Christ conscious masters, realized beings, angelics. I'm a voice for both the seraphim and Elohim angelics. And I wasn't too keen on this idea. I had no idea what would happen if I were to call forth Robin Williams, which you have asked me to do. So when I did it, he came to me and he was completely different than he is on screen. He had some very personal messages about some misunderstandings and misconceptions of his conditions, because people were under the assumption that he is was very depressed. I like to say is, because to me he's very alive and well. He was just incredibly quiet and wise and just not a screen personality at all. And the other thing that surprised me is that he arrived simultaneously with a spirit handler. For those of you who understand mediumship, you'll know what that means. When a being is an ascended and a channel attempts to contact, we will receive that being along with another ascended being who keeps everything under control, so to speak. So the spirit handler who showed up with Robin Williams is Saint Germain. Yes, out of all the beings that could possibly come through. I'm going to click on my chat viewing options real quick. All right. So Robin Williams comes through with Saint Germain, which kind of shocked me, but apparently that is his dominant guide. Now, for those of you who have watched my Saint Germain channeling, you will understand, based upon his personality, that Saint Germain is very similar to Robin. But I believe what surprised me is his personality wasn't like it was on screen, and I guess we all have those judgments and assumptions. He wasn't trying to make me laugh at first. He took about a week to get to know me. He took a week to make sure that he wanted to work with me. He is ethical. That didn't surprise me. I've always viewed him as a very ethical man. He is very discerning. It was like he was testing me to make sure that I was the appropriate channel for his message. So that happened for 3 days straight. And then finally, when he decided he wanted to open up to me, and I said yes to my exclusive channeling community on Patreon, he comes with Saint Germain, and he is, again, different than on screen. Wisdom-based, not that he wasn't ever, but that's just not what you see on screen. He told me I look a little bit like his widow, and that I had a little bit of her personality and charisma, and I don't know his family, so that was interesting. He talked about his entire purpose. He told me that he wanted to go from shame, insecurity, personal judgments, childhood trauma. He told me that he had enmeshment trauma. For those of you who aren't familiar with that term, we're going to be talking about that in great degree in this channeling. It is on Friday, by the way. The link is in the description of this channeling, of these messages. So what else? He told me that he wanted to go from all of that, which was caused by inauthenticity and lack of safety and childhood issues, to joy, and that his purpose was transcendence and joy. He wanted to transcend all of that and be joyful, and that he felt that he wanted to bring the frequencies and essence of celebration and of people understanding themselves enough to stop taking themselves so seriously, to laugh, and to also be supportive of their unique personality and be safe to show their unique personality in powerful ways to the world without worrying about insecurities and judgments from others. So all of those things came up, and it's about going from that to joy. That is his dominant message for us. So again, he came across as shy, a little bit introverted, sometimes funny, and when he was funny, though, I would be surprised at what I was laughing at. Like, I can't believe that he just completely bridged racial tensions and made a joke that I normally would be almost like I was kind of wide-eyed about some of the jokes, going, "Ooh, you said that? I can't believe you said that." And I'm laughing at that, which means I'm not taking all these cultural divisions so freaking seriously all the time. So he's helped me in that regard significantly. So he started out kind of shy, intellectual, and he went from that to this catalyst where he began to purposely catalyze me. And then there are all these little things that happen behind the scenes. Now that's funny. He started to get funny. The more he got to know me, the more he started opening up, talking about little things in his life. He talks a lot about capitalism and things that bother him in relation to, he said he was a minimalist person, which surprised me. He said that despite the fact that he had money and had fame and had all these things, that wasn't really what was a drive to him. Now that didn't surprise me. He seems so ethical all the time, now and in his embodied form. He was giving little stories. He said, "I can't believe that, that so many people would want to keep my screen materials and clothes and typewriter," and he listed all the things that he had put that he knew that people would want to keep in regards to memorabilia. And he said, I don't really have any particular stake in that. My wife doesn't want it, so my kids want those things, so that's wonderful because I have no attachment to things, and I never did. He said, life is full of love, and what matters is not the things and not the money and not the fame. None of those things matter to me ever at all. What mattered to me was my wife and my children, and causing people to feel joy. So he talked about sort of this whole who he was on the surface of what you guys saw and really what was behind the scenes. He talked about misconceptions that he was depressed. There's something else going on that you are not aware of and the majority of society isn't aware of. And he talked about the entire issue with enmeshment trauma turning into, situations from, being bullied to all sorts of situations that he talked about with this enmeshment trauma, and how he kind of bypassed it with joy as opposed to allowing it to transcend with joy. And he wants to teach you to do the same without emotionally bypassing yourself or cutting yourself off or ignoring your purpose for the sake of other people. So that was a very important message. He talked about his role as a catalyst on the planet, and all of our roles, for those of you who feel like you're a bit on the edge and a bit of a catalyst. And he talked about how not to take ourselves so seriously in that role as well. He called me out for taking things too seriously most of the time. So that was fun. You have to be really authentic in order to work with him. He talked about inauthenticity and lack of safety in allowing ourselves presence and power of being who we are, unabashedly, without shame. But these conversations with Saint Germain, he's having them, and let me tell you what, he likes the F word. He is not an ascended being, but he is working on it. So he has Saint Germain to kind of guide him along. And while I'm having these conversations with Saint Germain as the handler, he's making racial tension jokes to get rid of racial tension. He's cutting through so much tape of the unexplored that you wouldn't believe the things coming through his mouth. He's dropping the F-bomb left and right, and Saint Germain's like, please don't say that live. And then he does it anyway. And they talk about, various things that come about insofar as human language perspectives and how language is taken too seriously even. So there's so many little things that are happening between he and Saint Germain that are quite frankly hilarious. I can't keep up. And you know how quickly I channel as a clear conduit being. It just comes out of my mouth very fast. What I'm experiencing is watching the two of them go back and forth. Saint Germain tries to correct him. He doesn't enjoy correction. He tells him to fuck off. Saint Germain starts to talk about the origins of the word. They talk in these ways, and then I'm looking and my eyes are this big, and both of them will stop and say, stop taking yourself so seriously. And I'm like, oh yeah, don't take myself seriously. Okay, going back to that lesson. Those kind of things are happening in a moment by moment, lightning fast pace. So this is what it's like in my day-to-day world from now until Friday. I assure you that I will be completely enmeshed in this. So I just wanted to connect and let you know what was going on, that I will be doing this channeling Friday. I was going to do it at 1 p.m., but it's two back-to-back to a class that I have to teach for the wonderful Marianne Hasna, by the way, on her site. So I'm going to be teaching some Akashic Records classes from 11 to 1. So I'm going to start this channeling at 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on my Patreon community. It won't be live on YouTube right away. I have to see how it goes, and I'm not sure that we're going to go live on YouTube on this, but it will be on Patreon, and believe me, it will be worth it. This is the most unusual channeling that I've done since the actual Saint Germain channeling. So the flavor of that will be what you're getting this time, except twice the entertainment. I'll tell you that. They are hilarious together, and there's also some very serious messages for society. So I will see you on Friday. I love you. Namaste.